Not too long ago, on this channel, we looked at a fantastic backlight kit for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Although it was a great drop-in solution, it most certainly had its shortcomings. A smaller screen compared to the original, as well as its overall larger footprint, which made it a tight squeeze inside the Pocket Color shell. However, we now have a new solution from the creator of the WonderSwan IPS kit we looked at just last week. But will it address all the shortcomings of the TFT LCD kit from the past? Let's find out. Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Tito and welcome to another episode of Retro Renew. Today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new backlight kit from the same creator of the WonderSwan IPS kit we looked at just last week, except this time it's for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. The name of the developer is HiSpeedIdo, and they're based out of China. As you may recall, the kit for the WonderSwan was absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure the same will be true for this one. Now, there are two main differences with this kit than with the one for the WonderSwan Color. For this particular mod, you will need to slightly modify the shell, which is why I purchased a new aftermarket one. It is my preference to not modify original shells if I don't have to. The other difference is that this kit is actually a drop-in solution, meaning that there is no need for soldering. However, there is an option to solder if you would like to add some additional features, but I'll get into that later in the video. Up until now, really the only options we had to backlight the Neo Geo Pocket Color were the TFT LCD kits that I currently have installed in this Neo Geo. If you want, you can check out my video on this TFT LCD kit, which I have linked down below. While the TFT LCD kit was a fantastic solution for backlighting the Neo Geo, I think deep down we all desired a full-size screen. Thankfully, those prayers have been answered. So we're going to start off by going over what's included with this new kit, then I'll show you how to install it, and lastly I'll go over its many features, pros and cons, as well as my overall thoughts. And of course, we're going to do a quick battery test as well. So be sure to stay tuned all the way to the end of the video for that, because who doesn't like a good old battery test? Anyway, let's dive right into the contents of this kit. The first thing we have here is the IPS panel. Nothing special, just a plain Jane IPS panel. Next, we have the driver board. Much like the WonderSwan kit, it has two touch sensors already attached, as well as the ribbon cable which will connect to the Neo Geo motherboard. Also included are two pieces of insulating film, 4 strands of wire, double-sided tape to secure the IPS panel, and a glass screen lens. The window of the glass screen lens appears to be the same as the original Neo Geo Pocket Color, which is great. So that's everything included in this kit. But as I mentioned earlier, I also got an aftermarket shell since we'll need to do a little modification to it. I bought this white shell from eBay for about $40 US, which I thought was kind of expensive. But I have to say that this shell appears to be extremely high quality, and it comes with absolutely everything. The screws, buttons, membranes, battery contacts, a glass screen lens, and even the rear stickers. So needless to say, I'm quite happy with it, and more importantly, I think it'll look really nice when it's all assembled. Great, so that's everything I'll be using for this Neo Geo Pocket Color build. And now, let's go ahead and put this thing together. Getting into the Neo Geo is pretty straightforward. Just remove both the main battery cover as well as the clock battery cover. Then proceed to remove all 5 Phillips screws and the single tri-wing screw. With the console open, remove the 3 Phillips screws securing the motherboard. Flip the console over and pull off the joystick cover. Turning the unit back over, desolder the 2 speaker wires. Gently remove the motherboard and unlatch and remove the LCD ribbon cable. Remember, this unit is using an aftermarket TFT display. Next, remove the speaker by pushing out the locking tabs and pull it towards you. And now grab your brand new shell, it's time to do a little surgery. With some flush cutters, remove these two tabs. And then this ridge on the bottom. If you need to, clean up your work to make the surfaces smooth. Next, apply the double-sided tape to the shell for the IPS display as shown. Now we're going to install the IPS panel by aligning the top with this ridge shown here. Do not put the panel all the way to the top. Before installing, make sure to peel off the protective film. Align it all the way to the left as shown. Here you can see how it aligns on top. Place the protective film back on the IPS panel as we complete the rest of the install. Apply the insulating film to the back of the IPS housing. And now let's prep the driver board. Remove the ribbon cable and pre-tin the pads for select, A, B, and battery. And then solder a wire to each pad, 4 in total. If you want to, you can remove the touch sensor for the color palette as I did. Next, insert the ribbon cable into the motherboard as shown. Then insert the other end into the driver board. Gently position the driver board onto the IPS panel and then connect them together. Now you can install the speaker. Go ahead and install all the buttons and membranes. I use some Kapton tape to keep the driver board from moving around. Then take the other insulating film and place it on top of the driver board. Drop the motherboard in place and screw it down. And solder the speaker wires back in. Go ahead and pre-tin these test pads as shown, as well as this one down here. And then solder in the corresponding wires. This is what it should look like. Now transfer the RF shield from the old shell into the new one. Go ahead and install the battery contacts, then the rear shell housing onto the front to button up the console. Go ahead and put the new joystick cover back on. And install the glass screen lens. And lastly, carefully apply the included rear stickers to finish things off. Pop in a couple batteries as well as the clock battery and marvel at your finished product. I just have to say that I am thrilled to finally have a full-size backlight screen for the Neo Geo Pocket Color, especially when it looks this fantastic. According to the product listing page, the image is actually about 5% larger than the original screen, and I think you can tell by how the picture seems to fall just under the edge of the glass screen lens window. It's not anything I'm concerned about though. It still looks absolutely great. Alright, let's go through some of the key features of this kit, and there's actually quite a few. Of course, the first feature is your ability to dim the screen with the touch sensor. It looks to have 10 levels of brightness that you can cycle through. Now, even more interesting is if you hold the touch sensor down, you can activate a small battery meter in the top right corner of the screen. I'm not sure how accurate it is since the batteries I have in there are brand new, and it looks as though the meter is reading at just above halfway. I could also be reading it wrong, but regardless, I do think it's kind of a cool feature. Now, if you went ahead and soldered the 4 wires like I did during my installation, you will unlock the OSD, which stands for On-Screen Display. This is activated by pressing Option A and B at the same time. Once open, you can scroll down the menu by pressing B and scroll up by pressing A. As you can see, we have many options. We can adjust the brightness, the screen's vertical position, the horizontal position, toggle the retro pixel mode on and off, turn the battery display on, and adjust the color. In order to select one of these options, you need to press Option and A at the same time. Then use the A or B button to make an adjustment. When you're done, press Option and B to exit. Now, this is a really powerful little menu. It allows quite a bit of customization, some of which is pretty useful. For example, let's say that after you install the kit, you later realize that the screen is a little off-center. Well, with this kit, you can adjust the screen so that it's perfectly centered by adjusting the vertical and horizontal position. That's pretty neat. You can also turn pixel mode on and off. And I have to say, I think it looks better in pixel mode, so I'm gonna keep that on. Alright, so those are the main features of this kit. Now let's go over some of the pros and cons that I've noticed. Starting with the pros, I really like that this kit gives the user the option to solder or not solder. While a lot of the features are enabled with all the wires being soldered in place, having important functions like the ability to dim the screens are still available regardless. Now, one thing I am curious about is whether the pixel mode can be enabled with the other touch sensor that I removed during my installation. I removed it because I had no desire to change the color palette, but now I'm curious if holding that sensor down will activate pixel mode. If any of you know the answer, let me know in the comments section below. That brings me to the next pro, which is pixel mode. I actually really like how it looks for this particular console, and I will probably keep it on all the time. It just looks really sharp and gives the Neo Geo a more authentic feel. I'm not always a fan of artificial pixels or scan lines, but I really think in this case it looks better than with pixel mode being off. Another pro is that it appears, at least to me, that the image is integer scaled. While playing both Sonic and Metal Slug, I didn't notice any shimmering. Of course, I can't confirm this, but again, if anyone knows for sure, drop a line in the comment section below and let us all know. And of course, the last pro is the full-size screen. Coming from the smaller TFT mod that I had prior to this is a night and day difference. I really can't express how much better the IPS panel looks. And now onto the cons. And I actually only have 2. The first is the need to modify and cut the shell to fit the IPS panel. I'm a huge supporter of no cut mods, but in the case of this console, it was only minimal cuts, and I did have an aftermarket shell, which I actually really like the look of, so this was just a minor issue for me. And the last con is the absence of an aligning bracket. Again, as with any screen mod like this, it is very easy to misalign the LCD. An aligning bracket, which some vendors do sell as part of their kits, will almost certainly guarantee a perfectly positioned screen. So those are the cons. Nothing really serious, just some minor nitpicks. Now, the last thing I'm going to be doing, and I'm sure it's what a lot of you are interested in, is a battery test. And depending on how well it does, I may consider a pro or a con. According to Wikipedia, the stated battery life for an unmodified Pocket Color is supposed to be roughly 40 hours, which is a lot. Let's see how this modified one compares. So I think that this is a good amount of battery life. While it's most certainly not 40 hours like an unmodified unit, it's definitely more than enough in my opinion, especially when we now have this beautifully backlit screen. But I'm actually more curious about what you guys think. Given all the benefits of this kit, is the reduction in battery life worth it? Overall, how do you feel about this kit, and will any of you be soldering the extra 4 wires to unlock all the features? As always, I'm eager to read about what you all think, and I always try to reply to all your comments, so definitely leave me one below. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Macho Nacho Productions. I release content every Thursday, so be sure to turn on notifications. And as always, see you next time.